slide that in.
Okay.
I'll let you know when it's live.
Official. Okay.
And we're all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Kenny, would you like to start off here?
All right, Charter's got his American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We can't mute anything because otherwise we won't be talking.
Okay. Again, as I stated before, Mark Keegan will be a voting member for the meeting tonight. And we will be checking on the status for you, Mark. So from here, I didn't talk with Tom yet. So.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Alex, do we have the 16A?
We do. Can I take roll call if you don't mind?
Yep.
All right, Chairman Dennis,
Here.
Commissioner Martin,
Present.
Commissioner Chudinski,
Present.
Commissioner Hart,
Present.
Commissioner Judge,
Present.
Commissioner Sponskowski,
Present.
Commissioner Keegan,
Present.
Attorney Caponera,
Present.
Engineer LaBerge,
Present.
and Code Enforcement Officer Mike Sarum.
Muted.
Present.
He's
All right, then first on the agenda is 16A Wolf Road, Chenega IH LLC for a change of occupancy.
Okay, is the applicant here?
Yes, good evening, and thank you, members of the commission. My name is Bruce Steves, attorney from Jones Steves in Saratoga Springs. Here with me for the applicant is Mike Maselli, Director of Architecture and Design, along with Chris Gray, who's the Regional Director. We're here concerning the IHOP restaurant located at 16A Wolf Road. If you recall, we appeared before the commission back on May 19th, seeking change of ownership approval for this parcel for Chenega Restaurant Properties LLC, which is an affiliated business with Chenega IH, in order for that entity to purchase the parcel from its current owner. In doing the research for that application, in the aftermath of that application, we learned that Chenega IH, the current tenant, did not apply for or receive change of tenancy or change of occupancy approval for that parcel. I immediately contacted the planning coordinator, Ms. Hart, on behalf of Chenega, and we apologize for that oversight sincerely, and we're here hopefully to rectify that issue tonight. Chenega IH took over a sublease for this parcel back in early 2018. Perhaps it was the fact that Chenega was a subtenant, not a direct tenant, but for whatever reason, this requirement was missed. And again, we apologize, and hopefully we can alleviate any concerns that the board may have, or the commission may have rather, here tonight. Importantly, Chenega IH has not made any changes to this parcel or to the building or to the operation of the IHOP restaurant thereon since taking over operations in 2018, and nor do they seek to make any changes moving forward. Our intent would be for Chenega Restaurant Properties to purchase the parcel from its current owner, and Chenega IH to continue as the tenant and to continue operating the IHOP in the normal course. Chenega IH operates 37 other IHOP restaurants, 8 of which are located in the state of New York. They provide sit-down family dining for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, as I'm sure most of you are familiar with. This IHOP restaurant has been on this location on Wolf Road since I believe 1970, based on the records that we found. In the application materials, we provided the particulars regarding the operation of the restaurant. We'd be happy to answer any questions concerning those details, and we appreciate your consideration of this change of tenancy application.
Okay, so the application is Chenega IH looking for a change of occupancy.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, I'll open this up. Any of the board members have any questions?
I do not.
Do not.
I do
Stand judge, I do not.
I do not.
I'm good.
Okay, would anybody want to make a motion?
Before you
I'll make a
vote,
motion.
Yep.
hold on, hold
Yep,
on.
Victor?
Yes, on paragraph 21 of the application, will there be any outside storage? The answer to the question is yes. Could you explain to the board what outside storage is being done there and where it is?
Page 4.
Yeah.
Paragraph 21.
I believe we probably should have amended that answer to no. Mike, if you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but we thought we had an outdoor refrigerator at this location, and it turns out we did not. So I believe we should have amended that answer to no. And I'm just want to check with Mike Vaselli, who's here on behalf of Chenega as well. Can you correct me if I'm wrong there, Mike?
At first, that is correct. We do not have any outside storage at this location.
Okay, so that's an oversight on my part, and I apologize.
So the record just should reflect that the answer to that should be modified and changed to no, correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
I'll make a motion to approve change of occupancy for Chenega IH LLC at 16A Wolf Road.
A second.
Okay, let's go down through. Mark,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
and yes for myself. Okay, approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is 1770 Central Avenue. Plato's
Victor?
Closet.
Yes.
You'll need to make that statement that we usually use for this property regarding the
The other folder.
parking.
Layout, site layout.
Yeah, because I don't have that language in front of me, Alex, you can take it from the previous application for a change in tenant and insert it. But the sum and substance of it is that any act on this by this board relative to this application has nothing to do with the existing parking that is on this property. And Alex, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and the board knows the language that I'm referring to, correct?
Yes.
Alex, are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the applicant here.
Ms. Shalakis, are you on?
I am. Can you not see me?
I
Not
cannot.
see you.
Okay, I am here and I can't figure out how to,
Are you on your phone?
I'm not on my phone. I'm on my
Oh.
computer.
Nia, it doesn't matter. I know what you look like. You're doing
Okay,
fine.
thanks. Thanks, Phil. I mean, Victor. Also, we also do have Gary Spadero, who is the tenant. So I apologize for you not being able to see me, but I'll make a little presentation and then you can ask whatever questions of Gary. The applicant is Central 1770 LLC, as well as Plato's Closet, for a change in occupancy in Village Square at 1770 Central Avenue in the Village. This property, this particular space is 3,400 square feet. It was formerly occupied by Zoomtan and then taken over by, or Total Tan taken over by Zoomtan. It has been empty since Zoomtan vacated the premises probably about a year or so ago. The current application is for retail use by Plato's Closet. I think that Mr. Spadero can explain to you what that is if you're unaware of that, but it's essentially gently used clothing. He's had experience in this type of facility before. He's had other locations. I believe, he'll correct me if I'm wrong, that he had a location that he's moving, original location to this location. And I think that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions of me.
All right.
Could
Could the applicant explain his operation then?
Does Philip?
And stores that he has, and if he has other stores open and moving it or moving to this one?
Hello, this is Gary. How you doing?
Yep.
Good.
All right. I only have one store, or it was located in 818 Central Avenue down the street, and we're just looking to move our location. The store has been in existence for over 14 years down there. I'm actually the new franchise owner. And the purpose of me relocating is I had to do a refresh, and we just felt that moving would better, and the franchise thought it would be better for us to get closer to Wolf Road. And they gave me advice in areas to look, and we found this piece of property. So that's why we're moving, specifically because the franchise asked us to find a new location with a new refresh and what have you. So.
Okay, and the operation is clothing lines, so forth?
Our teen clothing, teen lady clothing. We do have a men's section. We're gently used. We're a buy-sell trade, and we're just basic. We're owned. We're a franchise, and the franchise is Winmark, and they also own the Played Against Sports. So we fall underneath the same franchise as Played Against Sports, which I believe is also in Colony.
Yeah, it's in the town.
Okay, the commission is obviously quite familiar with the site in question. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the commission members. Do you have any questions for the applicants?
I have none.
Chris, this is Peter. I really don't, it's not really for the applicant, more towards the property owner. And the question to maybe Alex. I was over there. I know that they were redoing the dumpsters and want to know what time frame do we have in place there? Because I know the pad is down for the new dumpster.
I can speak to that somewhat. I may not have all of the information that you're requesting, but I understand that they're currently moving their current dumpsters. We've asked them to do that. They're in the process of doing that. It's my understanding that the paving is going to start on Monday, and that the compactors will be delivered shortly thereafter.
So by the end of June?
Yes, unless there's a delay with the compactors, but there shouldn't be. We're trying to coordinate everything so the dumpsters are gone and the compactors are in, so that there's no lapse.
And then all the mattresses and office furniture and everything else hanging out back there will be removed?
I don't know. Are you speaking about the stuff that's inside the space that's going to be occupied by Plato's Closet?
No. It's Plato's Closet. I don't have any issue with.
Well, because I know that right now we're relocating, we're removing everything from that space in order to prepare for Mr. Spadero. So
yeah, it was more done down towards Harbor Freight area. There was office furniture and mattresses, and box springs.
I will look into that. I'm unaware of that. As I said, I know that we're in the process of moving things from the Plato's Closet space, so maybe it was temporarily outside. Were you there today?
I was there this weekend.
This past weekend?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Typically, Adam Leonardo would be doing this presentation, but he had a conflict tonight. He would be the person to speak to about that, but I can certainly get that information and get that back to, and relay that back to the committee.
Okay, I just wanted to have some type of brackets around when all that was going to be taking place. with the old dumpsters and the 10, 15 dumpsters that are back there and all the garbage.
Yes, we're in the process of working with the tenants right now to have those removed so that we can make way for the new compactors to come in.
So we're gonna look at, that'll be all those dumpsters will be gone by the end of the month.
Well, again, we want to make sure that the dumpsters are leaving in coordination with the compactors coming in, so there's no lapse in having that availability. So
Okay, I'm just looking for a date, some bracket, something, if it's gonna be mid-July.
I assume that it's going to be by the end of this month, but I could definitely double check on that and get back to you on that as well.
That's all I had, Chris. Thank you. Thank you. This,
This is Dan Judge. They got a misprint on the questionnaire sheet, page 3. You got Sunday hours from midnight till 6 the next day. I don't think it's 12 a.m. I think you should have assumed that your hours are 12 noon to 6 p.m., not 12 in the morning.
Correct, yeah,
That's correct,
that's
sir.
correct. I want to work that late.
Or early.
Early, yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Spadaro. This is Mark Keegan. When clothing comes in for examination, and you either purchase it or not, what's the process?
Well, that's where the franchise comes in. We have a computer system that we put all the information in, size, brand, year, all that stuff, and then it spits out a price. And the only thing we're looking at, myself and my employees, are whether the product is in good condition or excellent condition. After that, the computer generates a price to give to the customer.
So what happens if the material isn't in good condition, you don't buy it? We
do not buy it. We do give 2 options. One, they either take it back, or second, what we've done, we've been donating a majority of our stuff every day. The Schenectady City Mission and the Albany City Mission comes and picks up the other product. So they do have an option to donate to those.
How will that clothing be stored until they're picked up?
They pick up each day. Just gets put in the back in 2 garbage can type, big, large garbage cans. And then every morning they're there to pick it up. We don't accumulate that much, to be completely honest with you.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Judge again. This is Commissioner Judge again. A question. When people do donations to like Salvation Army stuff, they leave things out front. And I don't like that. I don't like when people just drop stuff off. At your facility, how are you going to prevent people from dropping things off in off hours? Do you have signs, or how can you stop that?
We never had that in 14 years because you got to remember, when people are bringing their stuff into us, they're bringing it in to be sold. So they're trying to get money for it. The reason what makes our model so different is that we examine each piece that comes through, and every piece has to follow a certain guideline. It has to be laundered. It has to be in a laundry bin. Everything has all these things. So we're only really looking at possibly 1 or 2 bags per person, and most of their stuff is really good stuff because they're looking to be for sale from it. If a black bag comes in and it's moist or whatever, out the door it goes. We don't even donate that on. We only donate good product. And a lot of the things that we do donate to, another thing is, I don't know if you've heard of the anchor rooms or these high school free clothing rooms. So we work very closely with a lot of the local schools, Mahonison right now being the largest, and we supply almost all their anchor room clothing for them, for the kids who are that are in need. And it's already pre-sorted, and we give like all of the stuff that's off clearance. After it hits clearance, we donate it to schools, and we work very closely with both city missions, both Albany and Schenectady.
Good, great answer. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I got a question, Chris.
Yep.
Do you ever put clothes outside on the sidewalk for like a sidewalk sale, that type of thing, or?
We have done that in the past. We've asked the landlord if we could do it a few times a year, but we don't do it regularly. We're finding that right now we're not open, but other Plato's Closets across the country are using that through the COVID piece. So that's why we kind of brought that, into fruition, but we very rarely do. We do about 3 times a year. if any, you know.
For one day, a week, a
Oh,
month?
no, just basically just blowout sales, just one day.
All right.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. It's just a lot of work. So for us, it's mostly getting good product in, getting it out. We do a lot of our sales on what we call social selling off of our Instagram and Facebook accounts, and people call up and hold product and stuff like that. So that's starting to grow a lot more.
Also, with respect to the sidewalk sales, if you understand, I don't know what you guys are looking at for purposes of the location of this space. It's not right in the center of the inline building in the back. It's toward the left-hand side, and to the extent that they will have any of these sidewalk sales, they understand that they can't obstruct the sidewalk from people going from point A to point B, and it can only be right in front of their store.
And mostly, to be honest with you, it's just a rack or two of clearance that we're just trying to get rid of most of the time, just for people to come through.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from the commissioners?
This is Jim. I have one.
We lost you, Jim.
No questions.
No.
All right. Well, on this, going back to what Peter's question was on the dumpsters, so forth. If anyone if we have a motion made on this, Neil, what I'd like to do is to establish, I believe our next meeting would be a July 7th. And I'll lay this out, Victor. Can we, with this motion, put a stipulation that the dumpster would be completed by July 7th? If not, they would have to come back before us because we're trying to put some closure on the dumpster construction.
Yes,
Victor?
if the
Victor?
board is so inclined to make the approval condition upon that, absolutely.
Guys, what I would prefer, I mean, I have no objection to coming back before the board on July 7th if it's not done by July 7th. But I don't know what, really shouldn't, I don't think it's properly a condition to Plato's Closets change in occupancy. I know that originally we had discussed having the dumpsters in by March, and then everything shut down, including construction and what have you. And then we had to reschedule everything, which, as I said, is in the process. And I believe that either the paving behind the building is going in either on starting on Friday of this week, Monday of next week. I just need to coordinate with Adam, and I can get you an answer even possibly tonight. I could just text him and he'll tell me when it's going to be in. But I just would prefer if it's not necessarily, I don't know, linked to Plato's. It's not really fair to them.
It's linked to the site.
It's referring to the site, and Nina, with all due respect, the board has the power and the authority to do this. So, you know, it's just a matter that the board wants to keep their eyes on and make sure it gets cleaned up. That's all. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no issue with that.
Can we ask for an escrow that will be held in abeyance if they do not complete it by July 7th? And that's a way to get around linking it with Plato?
You know, you could, but I mean, how much escrow are we talking about? There'd have to be some way to estimate what it would cost to finish the job. I mean, I think it's more appropriate to do what we're doing right now with the condition that the chairman mentioned and I said we can do.
Yeah. The concrete's poured, the pad is there, the electrical's there. I think it's a reasonable. Yeah, I think it's a reasonable.
So commissioners, with all due respect, what does that mean for our application then?
Your application will or should be approved tonight. And you should be able to get your occupancy and your CO, but it is conditioned upon the owner of the property finishing up the back where the dumpsters are. it's more of an onus on the owner of the property, not you guys.
All right, so we'll still be able to move forward on the construction and everything that we need to do. You
Yes.
need a, okay. I
Yes.
just, because I'm just gonna let you know, for us, the deadline, our Christmas is back to school. And with being closed as long as we have been, it's really important for us to get up and running for our back to school season.
What time frame would it be for you to actually get the store open construction
I
wise?
would love to see it mid-July, latest August 1st.
Okay.
And I just so you know, I do have a lot on order. Things are going into warehouses as we speak. So as things are getting ready to go in, rugs are already being shipped into warehouses. We're getting the paints together. The franchise takes care of a lot of that for us. So it's just, it's just one of those things, and we're not presently open. So finances are, they're hurting.
Gentlemen, I'm getting some information from Adam. He says the one dumpster is there, the other is coming the end of this week. And that the paving, they just paved. So they must have paved today. So I have no issue with everything being up and running by the next meeting. That should be no issue whatsoever.
And the other dumpsters removed.
And the other dumpsters still need to be removed, correct?
Mhm. So again, back to this, what I'd like to do is put the July 7th in there.
Right.
And the reason for it is just to, if it's not completed at that point, Adam would have to come back and give us an update and tell us what the status is. It appears that it's a non-issue. And he wouldn't have to come back, nobody would have to come back before us on this, and we could move forward. And I'm assuming the board would move to approve Plato's Closet.
I'll put a motion out there if you're ready.
Gentlemen, just for consideration, suppose that something isn't done by the owner by July 7th. Where does that leave my partner and me?
Victor, are we
Yeah,
tying this to the site or just
we're
the?
tying it to the site. We're not going to penalize the tenant.
Mhm.
So we bring the owner back in, and the board can decide whether or not we want to impose a fine or what. I mean, so I don't want to tie it to the tenant. It's not the tenant's responsibility to do this.
Yep.
It's just, it's a site issue.
Make that a separate and distinct matter per our application.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
All right, then I'll make a motion for 1770 Central Ave, Plato's Closet to move into, is there a suite number? What'd you say, Zoom Tan location?
The former Zoom Tan location consisting of 3,400 square feet.
It's adjacent to the subway, correct?
It is 2 doors down from Subway.
Okay.
The CBD oil store was next door, and then Subway was next to that.
With the condition that the owner of the property will have the dumpsters removed and the new dumpster in operation by July 7th. If not, they'll have to show back up at the meeting on July 7th.
On the motion, who's got to show up?
The
The owner.
of the property owner.
Yes, and what we will also do is we'll tell the village as soon as everything is done.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Alex, you want to go down through roll call on the vote? All right, I guess I'll do it. Mark?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And yes, also for the chairman.
Sorry, I was muted.
Okay. All right, you're approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Be
Welcome
safe.
to the village.
Okay,
Thank
It's
you.
good to be here.
Can't
Welcome.
wait. Thank you.
Okay. 18 Walker Way, is the applicant here?
You are Mary.
I'm here.
I'm trying to unmute Joe.
There's Joe. Oh, you don't have to?
Maybe it's better you keep them muted. No.
All right. Are you
I'm
there,
here
Joe?
now.
Oh,
Sorry, Joe.
Listen, how come she always mutes me?
Right.
You really have to ask
My
that
wife's in the
question?
background laughing.
So is mine.
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead.
We're here to see if we can get Charles McFawn's company, geez, I forgot what the name of it was. Motivated Auto Detailing at 18 Walker Way, Section 3C. It's about a 1,500 square foot space between pharmaceutical labs and Contest Analytical. Mr. McFawn has been doing detailing for quite some years and wishes to operate here in Clark Industrial Park.
Okay, well, I'm not to get, we'll come back to the site itself, but Mr. McFawn, would you like to go through the operation of the detailing for us?
Sure. So what I'll do is take the car to 1757 to wash the car, and it will be brought back to 18 Walker Way to actually be detailed. Going through the car, majority of my chemicals are, I'm using steam. All chemicals I use is biodegradable, economically friendly. I do have a containment mat that will be go down onto the floor, so nothing will leak onto the concrete or the pavement. Everything is done pretty much contained within the vehicle. So, you know, shampooing the carpets, vacuuming the carpets, seats, upholstery, the vinyl dashboards, the glass.
All the operations are inside the building?
Yes,
Any storage outside?
no storage outside.
Any commission members have a question for the occupant?
Hours of operation?
Yes, I do. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. The application does not indicate any hours of operation per se. It's all left blank.
It's going to be Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Nothing on weekends?
Nothing on weekends.
I got a question, Chris.
Yep, Kenny?
Mr. McFawn, you don't wash the vehicle inside your space at all?
No, that's all going to be done at Huffman's. Due to the water contamination with any kind of the Clean Water Act, I don't have any kind of water containment system in place.
Is there a floor drain?
I believe there is a floor drain, but I don't know if it's functional.
It's plugged. Been plugged for about 20 years.
Is this a sublease? I guess the question is for Joe.
No, actually, it was the audio sessions, or I'm sorry, not audio sessions. What the heck's it? Vinyl Effects was in there, and they could no longer sustain the project because they've been out of business for as long as they have. So they wish to get out of their lease. So Charles was going to, take it over and, just basically Mike Cerrone had told us that he had to go and come back in for a tenant change. So I gave him a new lease.
So this space it's considered 3A and 3B or whatever it is?
No, it's 3C and 3B. 3B is Contest Analytical. It says they've got a mutual shared entrance, but you go straight in and they contest analyticals in there, then you take a right and you go to the space that's where just where the garage is.
Will customers be dropping their cars off, and how many cars do you think you'll have there at any one time waiting for detailing, or after detailing waiting for pickup?
It's only going to be one car. It takes me roughly 5 to 6 hours to do one car.
So it's by appointment, and you bring a car in and.
Right, it's by appointment only, pick up and drop off. That's it. There'll be no cars left there overnight.
I don't have anything more for the applicant.
Anybody else have questions for the applicant?
I do not.
I got one question.
Yep.
According to
Jim?
the drawing that was submitted, you have one bathroom for two different leases. Is this?
No, there's another bathroom in there. It just doesn't show it. I put, the bathroom is that long hallway. There's a bathroom at the end of the hallway, and that closet's not in there.
Okay,
Contest Analytical, they have their own.
okay.
They have a shared entrance, that man door.
That front door, and there's a vestibule right there. You can go straight into Contest, or you can take a right and go into Motivated.
Now,
Dan Judge, just a question. And when you do detailing, is there any painting involved or anything like that?
There is no painting at all.
You said there's a containment mat. What does it contain?
Any kind of spillage. So say if I were to drop Windex or all-purpose cleaner, nothing will get onto the pavement itself. It'll be contained within its own mat, which can then be picked up by a shop vac.
Right.
What do you do with the liquids in the shop vac? Where does
That'll all be disposed of.
Okay, where?
Well, everything's biodegradable, so everything would be thrown into a garbage can. Once I empty the vacuum out, and be disposed of at my place of residence.
Well, that brings me to my next question. I don't think we allow commercial garbage to be taken to the residence and picked up by the village.
It's not so much commercial garbage. It's going to be paper, straws, napkins, anything that's left within the vehicle. Not taking out anything like shingles or anything like that. It's going to be all pretty much napkins, cups, anything you would get from like a drive-through.
I'm sorry.
Cars.
Can I interrupt? Charles, wouldn't the shop vac be dumped in the toilet?
You can jump in the toilet, yes. Any liquid, yes.
It's liquid, right. I mean, that's where we would do it. We don't want it in the storm sewer anymore.
No.
Jonas,
You're taking your garbage off site. You're taking garbage off site. You're disposing of it on your own.
Yeah.
And where do you reside?
8 Broderick Street, Colony, New York.
So what was on Myers?
That's my parents' property.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I go along with Jim. I guess I got an issue that if you're taking commercial refuse and bringing it to a residence, Joe, does he have access to a dumpster pad or?
There is a dumpster pad on the property, but he doesn't have enough garbage for a dumpster pad, but he could get a county waste or an action waste and just have a garbage can outside. That's exactly what Pharmaceutical Labs does in Contest Analytical. They use a garbage can that gets picked up once a week. I mean, it's simple.
That's what I would like to
sit in front of the building.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
The garbage cans that are sitting in front of the buildings.
Yeah, well, they would put them out the night before the garbage was to be picked up, and
Okay.
that's, I mean, generally they're not there the next day.
Well, if they were there on a Saturday morning, they would be.
Well, most of the yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But most of the pickups are during the week. I mean, they're Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
All right, well, that's a site issue that I think we'll be addressing next anyway, so.
All right, so refuse pickup will be done at the site is what we're proposing.
That's okay. with
Charles,
me.
you just have to get an account. I'll give you a name of Action or County. County seems to have the machine that picks up the garbage cans, and you don't need anything more than that.
No.
Probably not, right. We gotta have something now.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any more questions from the commissioners for the applicant?
I do not.
Not the applicant, for the tenant?
Dan Judge, I do not.
Jim, I do not.
Okay, I'd like to get back to the site. Several of the members have visited the site and have questions. I believe these will probably be directed towards property owner, and that's being represented by Joe. I open it up to the commission members.
Joe, I guess I'll start. Who does in front of pharmaceutical labs? Who owns that little pole ditch witch thing?
Applied Ecological.
All right, that's been parked there for a while. Who owns the pontoon boat that disappeared today at some point?
I believe Applied Ecological.
Okay. Who belongs to the trailer that's parked in front of the corner of Greenbrier Contracting and the
I believe that's Greenbrier.
okay. So that's parked in a non-parking space. Who belongs to the car with the two flat tires parked in front of Greenbrier?
4 flat tires.
Four flat tires.
Yeah, I believe that's Applied. Doesn't it have a sign on it? Applied. I said something to him everything you're asking on the question there. Because I caught him on a Saturday. I said, "What the heck is all this stuff being here?" And I guess they got yelled at Greenbrier because they were parking in front of theirs. But a lot of that stuff's Applied Ecologicals, and I think the car is too.
Okay. The site plan that we reviewed is not correct because back on the corner where Upstate Property is,
yep,
is a complete mess. There's a cut through that goes to 3 Fritz.
Yeah.
So the site plan that we're looking at is not correct.
Right, I agree.
Also, on that same side, on the building, there's water tanks or some kind of fluid tank sitting there. There's plow, there's a tanker truck. There's
Yep, upstate environmental, and I have no problems with Mike going over there. And I mean, upstate, if you remember right, it came from 14 Walker, and they're supposed to have all their stuff stored in that fence, and they still, I left them that area of the fence right along between 14 and 16. And I have mentioned this to him, and I know he cleaned up a few of the snow plows this week, but I have talked to him many times about the mess that he's got over. A lot of that stuff on that corner is his, and maybe a nice talking to from Mike will help.
well, so and then there's a large tanker truck parked on the side that's
that was supposed to be back there too, in the fenced-in yard.
There's a small tanker truck. There's a boat. There's a couple of trucks with plows. It looks like there's grass clippings thrown behind all the parking spaces. And I'm sure you know what it looks like, and so does a few of the commission members, because we all took turns going over there. that whole back corner is a mess. And the site plan, because you showed the site plan's got parking spaces on it that aren't actually there.
Right, the two that are, yeah, where they join into the next parking lot there, the Tamarack, yeah.
3 Fritz goes.
Yep, I can fix that and change that out of there. That's been like that for years. I thought, listen, I moved my office and I just grabbed the site plan that I could find. I know that this was brought up before and we talked about it before, and that was put on there. I don't know why. I found this plan and I was trying to get it out to you guys. I haven't found a lot of the stuff that I had since I moved, so. But I can fix this one and I can take care of that. But as far as the tenancies, I mean, Mike's been very helpful. When I talk to I'm talking till I'm blue in the face about this stuff.
Hey, Joe, this is Danny Judge. One of the other things, there's a storm drain in the rear of the building and the blacktop's caving away underneath it. And it just looks like it's going to erode away.
Yeah, it is actually, we have it on, we have that one. There's actually one to the front right in line with that. They're both on scheduled to be re-blacktopped. I think we're talking to Mike Theron about some blacktop issues that we have at 4 Fritz Boulevard. And I believe those 2 catch basins are being repaired at that time.
Okay, thank you.
Mike, question for you.
Okay, my question is this to Joe. I've talked to the Howard Group regarding 4 Fritz Boulevard and the changes they want to make to the parking lot there and the drainage issues. And we've talked to them about what they have to do as far as coming in front of planning for site plan. So if I have problems with tenants over there, do I go to you or do I go to the Howard Group? Because it goes back to the tenant. So I need to put the tenant on notice. So is that you or is that the Howard Group?
That's the Howard Group.
That's all I want to know.
That's the Howard Group.
Okay, well then that's who I'm going to talk to.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Yeah, and by the way, Mike, they went and got an engineer to bring the site plans in for 4 Fritz too. So
I'm aware of that.
Yeah. So
Mike,
this is John Martin. I have a fundamental problem with Joe saying that he can't control his tenants and relying on Mike to do his job. There's got to be something that you can do, Joe, to take responsibility for your sites and your tenants. I don't know what the answer is, but for you to say, I'm relying on Mike to go speak to these people, I don't think that's fair to Mike or the village. You should be controlling your tenants.
John, I didn't say that. What I said is sometimes you can talk to your blue in the face and they don't think you have any power. But then when Mike comes through, and Mike knows I don't go to him, on every little thing. And at this point, as many of you might know, my power has been taken away as the manager. I'm not the manager of the property. I'm just the realtor, and I take care of minor maintenance issues. Other than that, there is somebody else higher than me that is in control from now on. And I apologize for that, but John, I don't turn my back on it. I don't disagree with what you're saying. And tomorrow morning, I'll be over there again to get on the 3 people that we're talking about and tell them that the village has issues. And if you don't want to clean it up, you're going to get cited. That's all.
Who gets cited, you or the tenant? I don't know. Mike, do you have the answer for that?
Yeah, we usually go to the owner of the property.
Property owner.
Not the tenant.
Victor?
And that's where any orders to remedy would be sent. That's where any court action would be taken. It would be against the owner of the property, not the tenant.
And we agree with that. We totally agree with that. But we also have a clause in our contract that they have to abide by the local rules. And if, should they not do that, then we have actions against them too. So I'm not afraid for, or I'm not objecting to Mike coming to, the ownership or to the management and bringing that up to them. And then we at least have a little bit more meat in our satchel to go, get these guys to move a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I'd like it.
Joe, Danny, Judd, on the application, it says property owner's agent, and they got your name, Joe Clark. Should there be another name for us to contact also?
Well, this is the agent for, I am the agent for this planning board meeting. That's what this is required to do. We have a management company. I'm still the real estate broker, agent, whatever you want to call me. And I'm bringing the tenant to you. As far as the maintenance of the property and stuff like that, there is a manager, and if the manager doesn't do his job, then, we take it to the partnership. But the manager, is doing, I think, a very good job. And he's, he addresses situations. Mike brought some situations to him, and he addresses them at the time it happens.
Okay. All right. So we do have another contact there besides yourself, is what I'll.
All right. The person that Mike would be contacting is the Howard Group. Am I correct in that statement?
That's correct. I have their contact numbers now, and I've been in contact with them on a bunch of issues over there, including for Fritz Boulevard and what they want to do with site plan amendments to the site there. And I have all their contact numbers. I know who to contact there.
Good. That's what I was getting at.
Now, Victor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay. It would be my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that the obligation of our code enforcement is to notify the proper owner or the representative of the property of the violations that are there. And it seems to be that we have violations on 1, 2, or maybe possibly 3 of these tenants. I'd like to get that clarified here. But my opinion, and let me back this up or tell me it's wrong, is I think Mike should be able to write a letter to the owner's rep and tell them that these are the people that are in violation at this site. And Mike, I don't know how we proceed on the numerical violations or so forth, but what's our procedure? And Victor, is that the way you think it should go?
First of all, I have to ask Joe, who is the legal owner of 18 Walker Way?
Clark Industrial Park LLC, of which I'm 25% owner.
I'm just writing this down.
Yeah.
And another question, who's the managing member of the LLC?
I am.
Okay. So basically,
member of the LLC.
Under the legal criteria, the managing member is the one that bears the burden. So getting back to your question, Chris, the way this works is that Clark Industrial Park LLC, to the attention of managing member Joseph Clark, gets a notice to remedy. Whatever violations are there, it comes from Joe or from Mike. And Mike, you can work with me on it. We've done it in the past. And we give them so many days within which to remedy. And if they don't get remedied, then the next step is to court. That's the way it works.
I'm okay with that.
I'd rather go directly to the owner of the property, Mr. Chairman, than any Howard Group or whatever. Just, it goes to the owner, it goes to the managing member. That's how it works from a legal, as far as LLCs go. It'd be equivalent to the president of a corporation.
Yeah.
So that's how we're going to do it.
We stipulate the time frame, or is that done by code?
I didn't hear you, Chutter.
I'm sorry. Is that done by a time frame that we can bracket, or is that done by code? As far as the time to rectify?
I think it's in our code, but typically, Mike, what do we give them? So many days? Is it
normally a complaint letter? I've been going 2 weeks. Order to remedy is 30 days, and then
Right.
court is after that.
Right. That's pretty standard protocol.
That's more than enough time.
Okay. That takes care of that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so we have an occupant looking for approval. We have, I think, a procedure on what we're going to do for the site remedy. At this point, can we make a motion on the tenant, Victor, in your opinion?
Yes.
But does the site motion, does the tenant motion have to include the site remedy situation? Or is that just between the code enforcement and the site owner?
The latter, the same thing we just did with Village Square.
Okay. In that case, I'll make a motion to approve motivated auto detailing in 18 Walkaway, Section 3C.
I'll second.
Okay, Mark?
Does that include the stipulation of the commercial rubbish removal that we had talked about?
Actually, John, would you like to modify your recommendation?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve motivated auto detailing in 18 Walkaway, Section 3, with the stipulation that all garbage be maintained through a commercial pickup on the site.
On the motion.
Not a stipulation, on the condition.
On the
condition. Yes, thank you.
And on the motion, I believe that the hours of operation as stated by Mr. McFawn are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, with no work being done on Saturday and Sunday. Is that correct, Mr. McFawn?
That's correct.
I think that should be added to the motion.
John, you have no problem adding that to your motion?
I have no problem with adding the hours of operation Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 to the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Mark?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And yes, from the chairman. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. McFawn, I'm sorry for the site problems that you got involved in with here. I'm sure we'll take care of those, and welcome to the village.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're gone.
Okay, did anybody have additional changes they wanted to make to either the public hearing or the meeting minutes from May 19th?
Yeah, I had a question, Chris, on one of the meeting minute notices. Did you edit those? I was wondering why the section where we talked about the disproportionate perspective was deleted.
John, are you on the public hearing minutes?
I'm on the public hearing minutes, yes.
Are you talking about page 3, the last paragraph?
Yes.
I believe that was Victor.
We have those minutes?
Yeah, I have them.
Yep, they're there.
Or it might have been RJ, actually.
See, I actually struck that only because you probably could add some of it back in, but indicating that there was a misrepresentation.
Breaking up.
RJ cut out.
We typically have this problem with RJ.
You're muted for something. There you go.
No. I was using the stupid space. So I think that was my edit, and I think that the last part of that, I don't know.
Well, then I would just delete the last sentence if you have a problem with that. But we did have that discussion, and it was pointed out that the perspective with the telephone pole showing it being taller than the building was was misleading.
Well, actually, then the discussion further that actually from the perspective of where that was taken from a vehicle, it actually would look like that because the poles would look taller than the building. Because they're closer. You can leave it, keep it, or you can keep it. I mean, it's up to you guys. It's just.
Well, if you're worried about the misrepresentation, then just take the last sentence out. But that it was an important item that was brought up.
I don't think the word misrepresentation is an appropriate word. I'm trying to think of the right word to use. It may be a something of the actual size.
Well, we'll just take the last sentence out. Take the last sentence out.
Yeah, take it out. It's fine. It's
but,
okay.
But leave the rest of it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Optical illusion.
It could be, but yeah, if you leave the last sentence out.
Like a village seal.
That's correct.
Wait a minute, I'm being broadcast. So
Are there any other questions, comments, or additions to the public hearing minutes?
I did, Alex, just on page 2, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th line down. I think it's just a proceeding and that such meetings are recorded, not much.
Which meeting you talk, or which meeting in minutes? Are we talking about the public hearing or the actual
Public hearing,
minutes?
page 2.
Okay, hold on. I was
says,
in the wrong.
Yeah, it says much meetings. I think it should be such meetings. That would be you, Victor, actually.
So it's in two places. It'd be such proceedings and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed.
Where are we here?
Page 2.
Yep.
4th paragraph down, 6th line, says much meetings should be such.
It's in two places.
Yeah.
Ability to view or listen to such proceedings and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed.
That is correct.
Okay, fine. Page 3, Vic, Alex. 3rd paragraph down, kind of the last line, Commissioner Judge agreed and changed
His answer.
his answer. Not him. Okay, that's all I had on that one. Anybody more on the public hearing? Anybody have anything on the minutes themselves? The general meeting? I don't. Victor, I assume we need motions on each one of these individually for approval?
Yes.
Please.
I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 19th, 2020.
I have a question. Was there any information or details that the public provided that we need to include as part of?
The minute, or not the minutes, excuse me, the emails I received will be attached to the minutes and in the official file.
Okay, just wanted to make sure we didn't miss. Got it. Thank you. Oh.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, approved. Okay, how about what do we just do? We can see regular meeting we gotta need a motion for?
I'll make a motion for the regular meeting minutes of Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 to approve.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Anybody
Yes.
opposed? Okay, they're approved. All right. Okay. A question I want to bring up in discussions with the commission would be Goldstein. We've received additional drawings for their site plan. I know most of the members have visited the site by themselves or together. I believe we felt that there was not enough room between the Locust residences and businesses to our proposed Goldstein storage building. So we have been trying to look at means of increasing that distance. At the site visit, myself and a couple members actually measured the berm and trees that are in the rear of the site. Needed 24 feet to give us any kind of berm and substantial tree area that we could work with. Staying in that same area, and especially with these new pictures that we just received, RJ has requested on the site plan, and again, John, I go back to, I can't read this small thing at this point either. But RJ had requested of the engineers to verify who owns all the trees that are existing there. This new picture I'm seeing that was submitted of from Locust, looking at the buildings, is showing all the trees down. And I hope that that's just to show the height of the building. But I look at that and it looks like, okay, the trees are all ripped down and now they can really see this building. So that's where I'd like to start with this. RJ, would you like to enter with the suggestion that you had made on the site?
Sure, which is basically the suggestion they presented on this plan. So based on, and I think I sent this out to all the commission members as well, a bunch of options that they could consider. And one was removing the parking on the west side of the building. And since they don't really need the parking, bank that parking on the Locust Park side of the building. So, and that provides 28 feet between the property line and the, I call them the grass pavers that were installed for fire department purposes, which should provide enough room for berm and plantings. And, they show some on their plan here, but I know that you're going to want to change that. So those spaces, and I did discuss this with them, that those spaces shouldn't be, those bank spaces shouldn't be considered unusable space. There's no reason you can't use those to berm and everything else. At some point in the future, should those properties on Locust Park become commercial, or the building use change, there might be some work that would need to be done to utilize those bank parking, but that would be allowable at that point.
Yeah.
Potentially be allowable, I should say.
Now, that banked parking is basically to give us the parking count that we've been kind of requesting.
Correct.
But if there's a change of occupancy, we are not tied to allowing that next submission. We're not saying that they can use that. They would have a site plan review again. So in the future, we may not allow that even. So
that's correct. And you also have to keep in mind that, if the adjacent properties are residential or commercial.
Yep.
And at some point they will sell, and we just know for what.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the only other real changes to this plan, where there's a handicap parking space now out in front of the building on the western side. The main entry is still in the same place, and actually is probably a better alignment than what was originally proposed, because it's straight now. One-way exit really doesn't change. And that's really it. So basically, all that happened here was the building shifted 18 feet to the west.
Yeah, they made a lot of changes to the landscaping, RJ, and that's why I think we need a full-scale thing, because when I was scanning it in and out and blowing it up at different portions, I think they take out all those trees. And from what I've seen on their landscape plan, I think you're right, Chris, that it looks like it's going to be a bare building with no trees for starters.
Well, those
Based
trees
on-
are on the
based-
property
based on the
owners,
plan.
property owners' trees. They're not on Goldstein's property.
Cheddar's correct. Based on this drawing, they show clearly to be on the residential property.
Okay, so they did locate them. They were going to survey them
They
and
said-
locate where they were.
They said they did, and I'm going to assume that these are the locations.
Okay.
We can verify that though.
And they're on the resident side?
Yep.
Yeah, they're pretty close to the property line, but they appear to be on the resident side.
Well, they
Front of
were,
the house.
looked at them.
They were in the front of the house. Well, the ones we could see from Locust, there's probably some trees behind the trees. There's a lot of trees out there. I agree. But the ones we're looking at these PDF pictures that came through, the pines and one deciduous tree. I don't know what the kind is, but.
So John, to your point about landscaping, I didn't review this from a landscaping perspective, strictly just a spatial one. Basically to see how much landscaping area we could accumulate on that side.
Yeah, Chris and I had gone through and laid out a whole host of options for landscaping, and it looks like they've made a lot of changes. But to really review it properly, you need a full scale, because you can't be running back and forth to look at the legend and then blowing it up at little different locations and looking at the spacing. And it was very deceiving, the original landscape plan, because they didn't have any dimensions on it. It wasn't until Chris and I laid it out actually with a scale that we found how close the building was, and that it would never work with the trees they wanted to put in there, given the growth of the trees and the root system that was expected to occur with these trees.
Is there anything else you want me to touch on here? I think I covered it.
All right. Well, I like putting that out there. How is the commission's feel on that layout for that was being proposed then? We still would need to go through and look at the landscaping, in my opinion. I know Dan has some issues with the appearance of the building. I'm not sure if we have elevations and what that will look on the backside of Locust, if that's a question. I throw these out for commission members to comment on.
Personally, I'd still like to see a little smaller building, but I don't think we're going to get there from here.
Yeah, Dan Judge too. I really like a smaller building, like John said. I would love to see a two-story building. It would eliminate the parking. I would eliminate the fire lane, and I just wish we could come up with some ideas to get that shorter building, two-story, and still give them close to the number of storage units they want. I had some ideas myself, but I'll hold them back. But yeah, a shorter building would make me feel better. And even that, even if they can move the building back a little, not move it back, but extend it a little. I don't know. We did good walkthroughs. One of the things that we did to walkthrough, we had to find the stakes for the surveying, and I didn't know. I thought we were going to ask for a new survey, but so we'd know where everything actually was. But I don't know if we have a good survey to look at right now. Did they ever survey that property, RJ?
The property was surveyed. The original application had the survey.
Well, we found 2 survey stakes on the entire property, and are both in a side parking lot on the Locust side.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it wasn't surveyed. I mean, that's just, I don't know what the stakes were for. It could have been marking a baseline or something like that.
Yeah, we just had a tough time visualizing how big the property was when we walked it down.
Just had one quick question on the fence. Looking like who owned different pieces of fence. Each property owner seemed to have a different type of fence, and it looks like they're going to replace all of the fence except for the first section there to the property owned, to the first property owner off of, after the Brazilian steakhouse. So.
So the fence, they're proposing, right, to install, well, this says
New fence,
stand fence, right?
Yep.
Basically behind the Walker property and the Osborne property.
That's going to be much better than what they have now. So, yeah. And I'm all for, I know that there's a concern with the height, but, it meets all the codes, it meets all the zoning, it meets everything that we need. They're not doing anything more that requires variances.
Now, the applicant has also proposed that they'd like to speak with the neighbors. Do we see any issue in that?
I spoke with Mr. Maney today. Mr. Goldstein, he wanted to reach out to, let's say, Mrs. Walker or whoever was sending the comment. And Mr. Goldstein was going to be happy to speak with them. But they wanted to turn it into a neighborhood meeting, and he has no interest in having a neighborhood meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if anybody wants to call him and talk to him, then he'd be happy to discuss it with him.
Is Catherine Walker the person that owns the house that should be torn down?
Is that number 4 Locust? Is that the first house?
Yeah. So
Yes.
is that relevant? I'm putting it out there. I don't see that as being relevant.
Well, seeing that she's a former historian and.
Okay. Nice that he's talking to her.
When we looked at the fence, when you talked about them only replacing a certain distance of the fence and leaving the rest of it, I seem to recall when we had the apartment complex on Sand Creek that the people that own the apartment complex reached an agreement to replace the neighbor's fence when they did all that fencing. I'm wondering if that might not be something that we can get a continuous fence all the way along the whole property line, even if they replace the neighbor's fences too. So it's just a thought.
Yeah, it does look like they are going to, John, all the way from the Brazilian steakhouse, Miss Walker's, all the way back with new fence.
No,
but there's certain sections that they're not.
That's right. They're going to leave the existing white fence.
That's for the other 2 properties in the back.
The other properties.
Like 10 and 12 or something like that.
12, yeah, 12 and
14.
Or 12, 14, and 16.
Yeah,
because it's much better shape, right?
That's all brand new fence.
Yeah, all brand new fence. You want to take out the fence, so.
Okay.
And that is owned by the by the residential property owners.
Yes.
I'm not advocating for Goldstein. I'm just saying that that they're doing that.
So some options to that are, the fence can be relocated. So, for instance, we have the 28 feet for a berm and trees. You could actually install a fence on the other part of the berm instead of at the property line to get a higher fence that's legal. Like Michael, we're only allowed 6 feet without
You need a variance for anything higher than 6.
Right. So, but that you could gain another 2 to 3 feet with a fence and work your trees around that.
And if you look what's in the backyards of the neighbors, it's probably Goldstein doesn't want to see that. So it's probably what they don't want to see.
Yeah.
Well, that could be true too.
Victor, we don't have any leeway on the size of the fence. It's either 6 feet or variance.
It's our statute. We can't vary that. However, you remember the biblical sound barrier we put up for ShopRite?
Yeah.
Where they had a berm and on top of that, they put a huge fence. They got a variance for that.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask RJ, somebody wants to have a neighborhood meeting. There's only the Walkers were the only ones that had any questions when it came to the public hearing. So who else wants a neighborhood meeting?
I don't know. I'm just passing what was relayed by Anthony Maney that they suggested having a neighborhood meeting rather than just them talking to Mr. Goldstein, and apparently.
I can speak to that if you would like me to.
Sure.
All right, so I've been in touch with Miss Walker's daughter, Lynn, who also resides at 4 Locust Park. She wrote us 2 letters, and I've been in contact with her a couple of times. After the public hearing meeting, the village received a couple phone calls and a couple questions on the public hearing that I answered. They are all live within, 6 houses of each other. I guess they're kind of using Lynn as a talker and the go-to person for information and calling the village and things like that. So there are several houses that have been talking to each other, but I also let Lynn know that they need to put some stuff in writing, so at least the village knows how many houses and how many residents are actually concerned about specific issues.
Well, to that, well, actually, those aren't topics of the public hearing, so that doesn't matter, right?
No, but they had called and asked.
No, I was thinking that the public comment on the subdivision is technically over, but this is site plan.
But wouldn't that more change if they needed a variance than what's in statute?
I didn't understand your question, Jutter.
Wouldn't their concerns be more of it if they were needing to go for a variance and they had concerns, then more that this is all within our statute and our code? I mean, he's being nice by talking with them, but
there's nothing that would prevent a applicant from speaking with neighbors. I've done it on a host of occasions, multiple times. And sometimes it produces very, very good results because the neighbors get a chance to, basically touch, hear, and feel what the proposal is. And the proposed the owner of the property gets to say, what is your concern? What can we do anything to help you? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I've had cases where I've had situations where I can remember Colony Center, they had to call, I remember Chief Hyder was there, he had to call the police in, it got that contentious. And that was only about the roundabout on Sand Creek Road. So, it's the owner's risk to do what he wants to do. But, Chris asked a few minutes ago, what do we think about it? It's his prerogative. He wants to, if they want to talk to him, let him do it.
yeah, no, I'm not saying not do it. Maybe I misidentified.
I did ask the Walker residents if they were comfortable with speaking with Mr. Goldstein. And if she wanted to provide her information, and she didn't want to give that out, but she said she would call him. And apparently they had a discussion. So I did ask, before I gave out any information, I did ask their permission.
I mean, from a practical standpoint, I agree with Victor. Sometimes these neighborhood meetings have good results. Here, this is almost a one issue problem, right? Big building, what's it going to look like? I mean, there's no access issues. There's nothing. It's strictly the visual impact of the building.
I guess my point is that anything he's doing out of being a good neighbor. There's nothing that we have in play that negates that.
I mean, he went through that with the Subaru place with the lights and the neighbors and everything. And once they expressed their concern and they looked at it, he fixed it and they left satisfied. So I guess to Victor's point and RJ's point, it's up to Mr. Goldstein and company to decide what they want to do with the neighbors, and whether or not they want a communication that makes any changes or not.
That's my point. I'm not saying, maybe I'm not getting this across. It's not a village board issue. It's between the two parties.
Correct. So let it go. I mean, it is what it is. Right.
Okay.
It's the sign behind you, Chutter. You got everyone very confused.
Back to one of the original comments I had made. What do people feel? Oh, now that's better. Yeah. Wow.
On hot seat.
How do people feel about the idea of what was done with the building, sliding it over as opposed to flipping it, suggestions and so forth? that we gained that 18 feet extra. What are your feelings on it, the way it's laid out?
This is Jim. I think it's a huge improvement.
Yep.
And like everybody's saying, they don't have to do anything. They're within regulation. So they've been working with us at this point, and it's a huge improvement. I don't know if you can get anything else out of it.
Okay.
I got the same feelings. This is Dan Judge. I really feel the same way.
All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think it's an improvement.
It is an improvement. I would have liked to see the building flip-flopped and having a access aisle across the front for anybody who wants to take a left back onto head east on Central, but what they propose is much better than what it was.
Yeah. All right. Victor and RJ, can you give me a little synopsis? Where do we stand on this project? What are our steps?
I can talk from a legal standpoint. We
Uh-huh.
have until July 20th, which is the 62-day mark, to make a decision on their proposed subdivision. So we got that working. We haven't made any approvals or what have you with respect to the location of the building, the size of the building. So we're still, in the public hearing hasn't been closed on that. So from a legal standpoint, we're only obligated to make a decision on the subdivision by July 20th. Okay.
Yeah.
We're under no time constraint relative to their application for, a preliminary approval.
Mm-hmm.
So from a legal standpoint, that's where we're at. Ron, I don't know what you want to add, and don't talk like a lawyer either, please.
Great. All right. I won't talk like a lawyer. I'll say something you can understand.
Where do we stand on seeker?
You guys still have to do that.
Okay.
Right? For both, all three approvals.
But you do it to do the subdivision?
To do the subdivision, right? Because they linked, when they submitted their seeker forms, they linked the subdivision and the two site plans all in one document. So you do your seeker determination, it's going to be for everything all at once, which actually is the correct way to do it, in my opinion. But
And
so I have a question.
Reviewed that?
Pardon me?
Have you reviewed the seeker?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, I also provided to the board draft part 2 and 3 with my previous reviews. I can resend that as well. As far as the plans themselves, I mean, the applicant has submitted very advanced plans. It wouldn't be a preliminary plan at this point any longer. It would be final plans. Obviously, they need to change whatever they need to change because of this shift. So that, new revised site plan, new revised stormwater pollution prevention plan, and of course the landscaping plan. And I think at this point, it's the landscaping plan that really is going to drive the time frame here. Again, it's just based on discussion because they call me every other day wondering what's going on. I did tell them that the board was going to be discussing it informally tonight, and we'd be able to provide them some input as to, what direction they should go, because they are waiting for that input. So if the board is satisfied with the layout, building location, driveway location, and any other issue, are there any other issues other than landscaping that the board thinks should get considered? I think at this point where we have to tell them what it is we expect to see on the next drawing. And to John's point on the landscaping, if we can provide them with some information once you get the full site plan, that'd be fine too. Or we can tell them, listen, we told you to get a professional landscape architect.
Yeah.
Come up with something nice. I mean, that's the other way to go.
I have a question for you, RJ, though. The fact that you said the seeker is linked with both site plans and the subdivision, if we can't be in a position to approve the site plans, how can we approve the seeker, which then holds up approval of the subdivision?
Well, you could actually make a determination as to whether or not there's any significant environmental impact with the site plan. You can do that at this point. You don't have to have a full, complete, final, detailed set of plans to make that determination.
So we could approve the seeker at, say, our next meeting, July 7th, and then that wouldn't interfere with us holding off approval of the site plans down the road until we're satisfied with all the end results. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was sure they're going to be pushing for an approval on the 7th, just so you know.
Approval of what?
Site plan.
Everything.
Well, we haven't seen the site plan. We haven't seen anything.
Well,
they've come up with a little PDF file of some concept that they have. And until we get a full set of plans that we can look at and make our comments on, you can't do anything with that.
Well, in all fairness, John, I'm going to say you have seen a set of site plans. Obviously, this is different, but it's simply a shift, and that it really is not going to change the site plan significantly, other than in terms of landscaping and where the green space is. So it's not that big a lift at this point. I guess is what I'm saying is when you're reviewing the plan. That's assuming you get it to us in a reasonable amount of time, by the way, obviously.
So actually, going back in this a little bit on the scheduling too, and anybody can jump in and correct me if you think we should go a different way, but we probably should be looking at the seeker getting it approved on the 7th, and the subdivision. I'm assuming, Victor, that for saying the site, the location of the building is going to be what it is. We should probably act on the subdivision.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to go back with, we are definitely going to work on the landscape plan. I know Dan had some issues on, okay, what's that side going to look like in back of the Locust neighbors? So on a site plan approval, that's when we would really get our full details, correct me if I'm wrong, on the landscaping and the appearance of the building, so that we can proceed on this thing with steps. And to me, it seems like the steps are going to be, we do a seeker, we get the subdivision approval, and then maybe we don't act on the site plans until a meeting after that or whatever.
Well, right. I mean, that's going to be up to the board's discretion. I was just telling you what to expect. In terms of what this building looks like, though, what do you really mean, Chris?
Well, I think that the east side of it was a concern. You know, they dressed up the front corners and so forth, and I can't even recollect myself what that side looks like. That picture they're showing with no trees and so forth, that's kind of horrifying. So,
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to
yeah.
see. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at one of the renderings with the tall telephone poles, the original one, I guess it was.
Yeah.
You know, and they have kind of like this fake sun's facade near the bottom, which would be blocked by the fence.
Yeah.
The Locust Park rendering.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, whether they put in, I'm just trying to flip it around in here.
Yeah. I mean, personally, on my side, I think what I would be looking for is how they're landscaping this project and the appearance of the building, I think, are my two concerns. And that would be all four sides. I'm not too worried about the rear, but that's my thoughts anyway. Anybody have anything different, you can tell us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it shouldn't be that difficult.
Yeah, I agree, Chris.
well, the rear a little bit, because don't forget those houses that are like 14 and 16. That's the only space where the trees are wide open.
Yeah.
That one house with the fence that took they must have taken all the trees down. That's got the pool and a cabana in the back.
Yep. Yep. I think they consider that they're making it look good all the way around already, but we may want to ask some more. So I concur.
Just to tweak it a little bit.
Yeah.
we know what the tweaks are. I'm just asking this because I know I'm gonna get the grilling tomorrow, and one of the things they're gonna say is we submitted all the elevations on the building. You have them. What tweaks do you want? That's
When did they submit? When did they submit the elevations, RJ?
Didn't we get that with all the building floor plans?
No,
I believe we did.
I didn't see them in any packet that I got.
They might not be colored, but they were in the full set that you got for the subdivision, public hearing.
So anyway, my point is that, the more we can tell them now, I think better off everybody's gonna be.
Can I ask this question? In looking at the rendering from Locus, they showed the one rendering that Chris was, I'll use his words, horrified over. What if they say to you, oh yeah, those trees are all on our property and we're going to remove them? That to me is a game changer.
Yeah, but I don't think they are. They're all on the residences.
Yes.
Well, then why did they show? I don't know. I'm hoping that you're right.
Why did they take
it out? No, they
in
the email that was sent with these, I believe, and Alex, you can correct me if your understanding is different. They simply removed all those trees just to give you an idea of what the project would be like with no
scale
and just what was built on the project site. That's it.
Scalability. Yeah, I get it. Okay, good. Well, I hope that's true.
No telephone poles. I can't tell. No.
Yeah, right. Well, that chimney's 500 feet tall. No, I'm not kidding. But I believe that is what Bill wrote.
And we are believing from the plan and the survey they gave us that those are on the neighbors, the large trees.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make them verify that.
Yes,
right,
please.
In just writing.
Yeah, because when we walk the site, the fence is the good side of the fence is facing the community center, is facing the Goldstein property, which tells me that the fence, all the trees are on the residence side. Because the one guy at either 12 or 14 or whatever took all the trees down and put his pool back there, but everybody else has got all the trees of biblical proportion.
Yep. Okay, I believe so too. But we really want that verified. So.
Yep.
Does anybody have, so that RJ actually has an answer for the questions he'll be getting tomorrow? Does anybody have any issue about the schedule I'm proposing? Is that July 7th, I believe, is our next meeting, that we could be able to act on the seeker, act on the subdivision. And as RJ put it, we want to get these in our hands, the full plans, so that I would like to, at that meeting, tell them if we want something more done on elevations or if we want the landscaping changed. I'd like to be able to tell them at that meeting what we're looking for.
I'm good with that.
Yep. Victor, you think that's a good idea, RJ?
Yes.
Whatever the commission wants to do, that's fine. I mean, you mentioned though at the beginning of this whole discussion of sitting down with these guys. Is that something we still want to do, or?
I'd have no problem doing it. I know John was suggesting that for the landscaping element of it, as in vegetation and so forth, unless
So what we're saying is basically the appearance of the side of the building and the landscaping are the two main issues at this point.
That was my thoughts, Jim. Anybody else?
I concur.
With that said, I think we should have some solid proposals to give to them what we're looking for on those two issues at the next meeting.
Yep.
Or I think we're at a point to either approve with stipulations on those two issues, if we can't come to a conclusion at that meeting.
I don't agree with that until we get to see a full set of site plans, specifically the landscaping plans.
Yes,
We
I
need
would
to
like-
have those in our hands to make recommendations at the next meeting.
Yes, I agree with you on that. But I think we can't just say, well, maybe we want this, maybe we want that. You know, I think we should have some pretty direct answers for them, what we're looking for.
Oh, Chris and I came through a whole litany of things for them. But we need to see what they're proposing from a landscape architect. We don't want to be designing their site for them. We've done that for too many other applicants around the village.
Okay, so what you're saying is you're pretty hard fast on a landscape architect.
Well, I want to see the plans. You can't tell what they're doing from a sketch on a PDF and they're scanning it little by inch.
No, I agree with you on that also. I had a hard time following that myself.
So when they send a set of plans in that RJ asked them for, and we get them, then we can make our recommendations to the next meeting and say, this is what you've done, this is what we'd like to see, and then we'd be ready to go at the last meeting in July.
Okay.
So are we going to ask, so for instance, in the 28 feet, do we want to burn? Do we want to increase height fence? Do we want the fence at the property line?
RJ, I'm not positive on it. If
Okay.
we have a berm and trees, or if we go with larger trees and spading bigger trees like we had suggested to them too. But I think we need to put that in place for the 7th and let them know which way we want to go. And I would suggest everybody on the commission to think that out. They did a berm with trees on it, or do we go with larger spaded trees?
Well, the only reason, Chris, the only reason I'm asking that question is it's going to be hard for them to do something if we don't know what we want. I mean, in regards to that particular issue, it's, we're going to tell them, all right, go come up with something, right? And it could be a beautiful plan, but if everybody wants to see a higher fence.
My opinion is we need to give them this information on the 7th, say, this is what we're looking for.
So
That's
listen,
what I was trying.
can I speak to the fence and the berm issue? The reason that we required a berm and a sound barrier fence at ShopRite is because of the neighbors. They joined in unison for the most part. There were quite a few, and they're the ones that talked about the sound and the visibility. And it was them that really gave the board the wherewithal and essentially the direction to say, okay, we're going to give you this berm and this large fence, which you have to get a variance for. So I believe that this is really going to be steered by the neighbors along Locust when we have our next meeting to see, what they're proposing. And again, I kind of side with John. I mean, it's not our design and we're not going to design it for them, but Chris, you and I talked a few days ago about the infamous biblical trees on the project I worked on about 30 years ago, which was the old Kenny Gandhi project, in order to provide buffering and just separation. So I guess we're going to have to see, what if the neighbors, when we have the meeting in July, maybe we'll have a public meeting, maybe it'll be a Zoom, but maybe the neighbors will say, you know what? We've met with Mr. Goldstein. We've looked at the proposal. We agree with a 6-foot fence or an 8-foot fence with the trees that they proposed, and we are satisfied. So, don't you think, just from a common sense, that that's the way we should approach this?
Mhm.
Are you rocking, Chutter, or are you agreeing with me?
Both.
Thank you.
Chris, just to your point about the berm and the trees and the fence and things, personally, I'd like to see what we talked about is the larger spaded in trees, because you'll be able to get more height eventually with the trees for blocking the whole area than trying to put just a fence on top of the berm. If we're looking to beautify the site from people coming along Central Avenue. I think the spaded in larger trees that you and I talked about would probably end up in the long run being more more beautification of the site.
John, are you designing the landscaping that you didn't want to do?
No, I'm making a comment to Chris's point about whether or not we wanted them to ask for a berm with a fence or spaded in trees.
I don't think it's one or the other. I think you can have a berm with a fence and spaded in trees. It all depends on how you trim your trees.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is, just so you're aware, the current plan is proposing 10 to 12 and called the 14-foot high, some kind of trees along that boundary. But when you say spaded in tree, just so I understand,
All right.
talking about for height.
So they are talking, and what's you say, RJ, 10 to 14, is that?
White firs at 10 to 12 and Norway spruce at 12 to 14.
I think they're doing a pretty good job with those. I don't think we want to get beyond it, because beyond that, do you really have a problem with whether they'll live or not? I think that's pretty, I didn't read that on that plan, but I agree.
They had about 6 different types of trees that they were putting in groups of 3 along their whole boundary line.
Yep.
There's 2, well, no, there's just those 2 along. I'm just talking about the one eastern boundary, John.
One side.
I think the 3 types are up against the building. The 3 different types.
There's some right on the building, right?
Right.
But the bigger trees, the screening trees, they're just those 2. But that height's good. I just so I can relate it. Okay, the height's good. And,
Okay. RJ, can you get, just tell them to give us that site plan, a large format, full drawing size, and so I can do, I think, if everybody else wants to do a review like that too.
Alex, did he ever send you any paper copies?
I don't think we got this last one, the big one, right?
I don't know. I don't know what he said. A lot of times he emails them and then sends copies.
Yeah. Alex, we didn't get this in larger format, the thing that came through, did we?
No, I have not received any hard copies of
Okay.
anything since the
Yep.
subdivision.
Okay.
But now that hopefully we'll be back together, I'll start requesting that.
Yep.
All right.
Are we tentatively?
RJ, do they have to submit a whole new stormwater management plan to you?
It'll need to be revised. Yes.
Okay.
Based on what they're doing, it's not going to be that big a change. You know what might be easier here is, because otherwise they're just going to mail these to the village hall. Is anybody going to be at the village hall, or should I just print them myself and send them to you guys?
That'd be fine with me.
We're there full time. We're still closed to the public until the end of the month.
Oh, okay. I'll just have them get them there then.
Yeah. So there'll just be one sheet then, right, RJ, that they have?
Yeah, that would just be this one landscaping plan sheet.
I would like to receive one if you could.
And
I think everybody in the commission should get a copy of that.
I agree.
I tell them to make a normal submission.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Are we somewhere around where we're trying to be here?
Yes, we are.
The only last question I had on the site plan
Yep.
is, they have one handicap space and it's in front of the building behind the sign. I don't know why it can't be in one of the bank parking on that side of the building.
Can it not be on the west side?
On the west side.
That's where the doors are, right? I mean.
Right.
No, there's space available there, right?
There's spaces there, right? Let's get it away from
There's like 6 bank spaces right in the middle of that side of the building.
On the west.
On the west side.
Yeah, let's get it out of the front.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, that's all I had.
All right, anybody have anything else? Any other new business?
I have a question or a comment. On the Joe Clark property on Lincoln Avenue, is that all done or do they have to come back in front of us for anything?
Now, John, having said that, if you remember that building that's going up over there, we had gave him approval with the point that we were going to look at when the building was up, what kind of landscaping we would need to be required there.
Okay.
I don't know how much pulling teeth this is going to be for that. I know RJ, you probably still have issues there, right?
Oh, the Joe Clark project?
Yeah. So, but that's where it was that I know, John, and so we should be pulling that, looking at that, the actual site and saying, okay, now this is what we're requesting.
Yeah, because when you drive down when you drive down Petra Lane and you stop at that stop sign before you get to Lincoln Avenue,
yep,
the pine trees are all sliced up and you look right to that site and it's an ugly mess. And I'm looking for some landscaping that hides that.
Okay.
Don, to answer your question though, you will still have obviously tenant approvals for that site.
No, that's good.
Okay.
Good point.
Also, they have a meeting there tomorrow morning at 9 regarding stormwater management issues. And there may be another order to remedy going out regard to that.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Who's it going to?
Oh, don't start.
The managing member of the LLC. How about Joe trying to?
All right, man.
Mary's property.
that? Oh,
That's
that's
not
me.
in the Clark Industrial Park.
Uh-huh.
All
All right, so
I
John,
wasn't, one question, I wasn't here
Yep.
for that meeting. So how many buildings are there in total over there that he's putting up?
3, 4.
4, right?
There's 4
Yeah,
new
it's
ones
4.
in the existing 2 buildings.
Yep.
Okay, so he's now on his last one. He started his last, the 4th building.
Yes.
Okay.
And Jim, you might want to look at that plan because we did have a note on there stating that when that building is during construction, that we would tell him what we want done landscaping wise.
Yeah, okay. So I know he has started it. So.
Yeah. So,
Well, the shell's already up.
yeah.
Yep. Partial, I think, just one wall.
Yep. So, all right. Any other business? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
I'm gonna say if we make a motion and we close, everybody still hang out, not exit.
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No one's opposed? Okay, so we can close the meeting.
Al's got a